All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the latest addition in a new series that I recently started called Can the Black Man Save Tatiana? Tatiana, Tatiana, Tatiana. And this is going to be the first entry in a sub-series within that series called Do Girls Just Want to Have Fun? And the reason why I was inspired to start this sub-series within the series is because of this segment within one of my favorite movies as a child called Tombstone, which basically was a quote-unquote modern Western starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Dana Delaney, Michael Biehn, etc., that retells the tale of Wyatt Earp, his brothers, and Doc Holliday, and their quote-unquote adventures in the Old West, particularly in Arizona. They engage in a shootout at the OK Corral, which is a relatively famous or infamous event that was once again re-imaged in this film. Just as an aside, Val Kilmer had one of the most phenomenal performances in the history of cinema in this film. But in this scene in particular, we're just going to analyze the dialogue between Kurt Russell's character of Wyatt Earp and Dana Delaney's character of Josephine Marcus, who in this film is characterized as a quote-unquote touring actress, when in all reality, she was a wandering prostitute, which when you think about it is basically the same damn thing. Also at the start of this scene is going to be their first interpersonal attempt at trying to get to know one another. They've crossed paths previously in this film. There's clearly an attraction there, but now for the first time they're alone together, so they're going to try to converse. Wyatt is going to attempt to tap into who she actually is as a person, and she's going to evoke or just put forth certain sentiments that, as we can see, are just intrinsic within the quote-unquote liberal woman or the allegedly independent woman. I just want you brothers to pay very close attention, because so many times we have these conversations with women and we don't really take in what they're saying because we're too busy being enamored by the niceties, by the introduction, by the fact that this female seems to be infatuated with us. And there are different phases in a relationship. The infatuation phase is always the most gratifying and satisfying for the man, because that's the energy that we would love the woman to have towards us for perpetuity, but it's just not realistic. Once again, just pay very close attention to their dialogue and what she says, because it's going to reveal certain essential characteristics about the liberal woman. And the vast majority of these females are liberal, especially if they're left to their own devices without moderation. As we can see here, Dana Delaney is on the white horse. Why is that? Because she represents a mother of harlots archetype. Once again, her character, Josephine Marcus, in real life was a wandering prostitute who ended up becoming the quote-unquote common law wife of Wyatt Earp. So, of course, they're going to talk together. I'm going to chime in. We see the white and the black horse. They're coming together of opposites.
Lovely. You could have been killed back there. Busted up.
Fun though, wasn't it?
Wyatt Earp just told her lovely because he was responding to a statement that she made. They just had an adventure. She led him on a forced pursuit, which basically was her first attempt to program him into believing that he should chase her around. That's something that the liberal / quote unquote independent woman loves to do, especially if she pursues you first, because especially in this modern day time, many interested women, when they come across a guy who piques their ardor per se, they want to get the guy's attention, and no matter what they have to do, they're going to do that. If they have to tell him how handsome they find him to be, how attractive or how smart, but the focus of the liberal / independent woman is always to recalibrate the tone of the relationship into you chasing her. That gets you into a subservient position, much like a female praying mantis. She wants to engage in intercourse with the male praying mantis, but at the end of it, she's going to destroy him so that she can move on to the next. That's always the focus of the quote-unquote independent / liberal woman, i.e. Luciferian woman, i.e. mother of harlots microcosm. But once again, the first thing that she talked about was how fun that whole engagement was.
Die for fun?
Wouldn't you?
Now, he just asked her, would you die for fun? She responded back, wouldn't you? Let me rewind this back just a little bit.
That was lovely.
Lovely. You could have been killed back there, busted up.
Fun though, wasn't it?
You'd die for fun?
Wouldn't you? Oh, he's laughing. I didn't think you ever laughed.
Yeah.
Hey, brothers, the quote-unquote Tatiana is always very fun. You and her will always have a great time out on the town. You will enjoy one another's company. That's the manner in which she lures you in. It's always going to be up to the man to be able to discern/decipher what type of woman he's dealing with. In order for us to do that, we have to have a very clear mind, because the infatuation phase is an essential portion of the back and forth between the man and the woman. She has to make the man believe that he is the center of her world, when in reality, she's trying to make herself the center of his world. That's how it's always going to go. So she's always going to come off as quote unquote fun and gregarious early on.
I laugh sometimes.
Yes, but how often? Are you happy?
Happy?
Brothers, I've touched on this in previous videos. There's no such thing as happiness, but the woman likes to accentuate that concept of happiness because it taps into her childlike understanding of life. We have to search out contentment and peace. But in order for there to be peace, there has to be order. The woman in general is an agent of chaos. Not all women, just the vast majority of them. So she deals with concepts of happiness and sadness and anger. Everything is an emotional interpretation for her, because rationale, reason, and logic is not something that's really intrinsic within them.
Well, I don't know. Happy as the next man, I guess. I don't laugh all day long like an idiot, if that's what you mean.
Now you see how the character of White Earp responded. He said, I don't laugh all day long like an idiot. He's trying to help her understand that a man, for the most part, is serious. You're going to have moments here and there where you laugh or joke, but your entire life, especially if you're a man of wisdom, cannot be about laughing and joking. He's making the disparity between the type of man that he is and the type of man that she's probably accustomed to and that she's searching for. Even in Ecclesiasticus, I believe the 21st chapter and the 20th verse, it tells us how a fool lifts up his voice with laughter, but a wise man scarcely smiles a little. In other words, you have to understand place and time to be gregarious, to be engaging in jocularity, things of that sort. He's picking up on the fact that she thinks that everything in life is supposed to be about fun and games, which is a common occurrence, especially in younger women who have not been moderated properly.
Touchy about it, aren't you?
No, I'm not touchy. It's a silly question is all. Am I happy? Are you happy?
No, I'm always happy. Unless I'm bored.
Hey, brothers, you hear that? She says she's always happy unless she's bored. As I've stated in previous videos, the two main galvanizers of the liberal woman are jealousy and boredom. When you come across these females who think that you're supposed to always be a source of entertainment for them, you know why that is? It's because they're a Tatiana. It's not your job to try to change a Tatiana. It's your job to make sure that you walk circumspectly and take notes of her character traits, whether they be good or bad. But once a woman declares herself to be a Tatiana, whether it be in her words or her deeds, just listen. Don't worry about trying to change her, correct her behavior, or anything of that sort. You have to make sure that you keep your frame of mind stable and that you put yourself first, especially before you're able to discern what type of person you're dealing with or who you're letting into your life. Let me rewind this back just a little bit.
That was lovely.
Lovely. You could have been killed back there, busted up.
Fun though, wasn't it?
You'd die for fun?
Wouldn't you?
Hey, brothers, a lot of these females would die for fun or put your life on the line for fun. You come across a lot of these chicks today, especially the so-called liberal black woman. And this really started with them, I would say, probably about 20 to 25 years ago. All of a sudden, they want to jump out of planes. They want to bungee jump. They want a white water raft. And they get that stuff from watching television and watching the so-called Caucasian. They believe that that's a part of quote-unquote fun, hiking through the mountains, through the forest, being around quote-unquote wild animals and nature and becoming one with the universe, so on and so forth. A lot of these females, they have a lot of wild doctrines. We come from stardust and all this. All this shit that they talk about, man. Pay very close attention. Get out of the habit of quote-unquote blaming the woman for changing. Pay attention to what she says early on because it's going to be a key indicator of who she actually is as a person. One of the main forces that makes the woman go is her sense of quote unquote fun. She wants to have fun. That's what makes her so good with children because they're a lot alike.
Oh, he's laughing. I didn't think you ever laughed.
Yeah, I laugh sometimes.
See, Wyatt is a man. He thinks like a man. He says, yes, I laugh sometimes. I laugh when things are funny at the appropriate moment. But my whole life cannot be about laughter.
But how often? Are you happy?
Am I happy? Well, I don't know. Happy as the next man, I guess. I don't laugh all day long like an idiot, if that's what you mean.
Touchy about it, aren't you?
No, I'm not touchy. It's a silly question is all. Am I happy?
Yes, it's a silly question, but it's an attempt by her to probe your subconscious to see how she can manipulate you. I'll say this though, brothers, it's the job of your woman to make you happy, to pick you up through certain situations that you go through in your life, as long as you're putting your best foot forward in every way, shape, and form, and that you're a functional man. That's why I always tell cats, we shouldn't be even trying to engage in serious relationships unless we have our own place and either a job or career or things of that nature, because if you don't, if you try to establish a rapport with a woman early on, she's going to go along with it because she's in the infatuation phase. But once she moves past that, that's when all the nagging, the sniping, the disrespect is going to start, because the woman returns back to the real world when it comes to a lack of money. Lack of funds is always going to create acrimony in the relationship.
Are you happy?
No, I'm always happy. Unless I'm bored.
Brothers, please focus on that revelation, okay? The woman is always happy. The liberal woman, let me specify, is always happy unless she's bored. What is she really saying? She likes to jump from man to man. She's a Tatiana.
That blonde woman, is that your wife?
What about her?
Now, Wyatt Earp in real life, he was engaged in a quote-unquote common law marriage with a woman by the name of Maddie Blaylock, who was a drug user and also a prostitute before he met this woman, Josephine Marcus, who once again in this film is cast as an actress, but in real life, she was most likely a prostitute herself. But just to get back to the point, she asked him if the blonde woman was his wife. Why is she asking him that? Because as I tell you brothers all the time, when the woman is interested in you, she don't give a shit if you have a woman already. She gonna give you the panty drawers at least once. It's only after she decides that she wants to try to make you hers that she'll start stipulating whether or not you can quote unquote be allowed to remain with that other female. That's an offshoot of this Western society that we live in, where the woman is allowed to dictate to the man exactly what the tenor of his quote unquote love life is going to be. But that's due to a lack of ownership that the man has in this society. If you don't own, you can't dictate.
What do you want out of life?
Contentment. The only way to have contentment is through peace. The only way to have peace is through order. Please understand, Wyatt Earp was a lawman, so he was a man of order. Art always imitates life. I did a review of a film, a very short review of a film by the name of Lakeview Terrace, starring Samuel L. Jackson. He was a lawman in that film as well. He was cast as the villain, but he was actually the hero. I'm going to do a much longer review of that film down the line, most likely on my website. But always understand that character traits are consistent with the overall archetype of a character in the film. In other words, if he's a lawman, there are certain traits that he has to encapsulate. He has to be a man of order. He has to be a man of structure, so on and so forth. The liberal female, who oftentimes there is an antagonistic rapport early on between a lawman archetype figure and a liberal female in these movies, she has to be broken down in some way. Either he has to break her down or she has to break him down. Like they'll have the female character say things to him like, you need to loosen up, or you need to learn to live a little, something like that. Or the lawman figure will save the liberal female / prostitute figure out of some bad situation, like an Action Jackson movie.
You get these questions.
Answer.
Well, I don't know. Make some money, I guess. Maybe have some children.
In other words, you want to get paid, you want some coochie.
Doesn't suit you.
Well, how would you know?
It just doesn't, that's all.
Well, I ought to know my own mind, and I'm telling you what suits me is a family and kids. Suits me right down to the ground. In fact, that's my idea of heaven. All right, what's your idea of heaven?
Room service. He's laughing again. But that's what I want.
In other words, her ass can't cook.
I want to move and go places and never look back. Just have.
Hey brothers, you ever notice when you come across many of these modern day females especially, they always seem to be very unstable. They want to go here or go there, move here or move there. And there are certain situations where it's good that somebody wants to move. They want to restart their life, go to a better situation. But sometimes people just want to move for the sake of moving. Always understand why you're going to uproot, what your plans are when you get there, what your resources are going to be when you get there. Because the woman, for the most part, understands that this society is set up to help her succeed. So she knows she can go from New York to North Carolina and there's going to be a job there for her. And if there's not a job there for her, there are going to be resources there for her to survive. When you allow a woman to uproot you, you go from New York to North Carolina, there's probably not going to be a job there waiting for you unless you work on your own and you have your own business. Always know why you're going, where you're going, and understand what the woman's plans are before you get too deeply embedded in her world, or you allow yourself to get deeply embedded in her world.
Forever. That's my idea of heaven. Please don't share it with them.
You mean Behan?
When Wyatt Earp says you mean Behan, he's talking about the sheriff Behan, who was her man at the time as she's trying to seduce Wyatt Earp.
Well then, why are you with him?
Because he's handsome. He's charming. He's all right. For now.
Hey brothers, you hear that? Wyatt Earp asked her, why are you with him? Talking about Behan. She said because he's handsome and he's charming and he's all right for now. She's letting Wyatt Earp know she's a Tatiana. She's already stated that her life is about fun and happiness unless and until she gets bored. There's nothing wrong with a woman like this. The issues come in when men try to make females like this into a wife. Cats have to stop doing that. Understand the type of woman that you're dealing with and deal with her accordingly.
Oh, I know. Don't say it. I'm rotten. I've tried.
She said, I'm rotten. I know.
Good. It's just so boring.
Brother, I'm going to rewind this back a little bit just so that we can get a lot of what she's saying in proper context.
But that's what I want. I want to move and go places and never look back. Just have fun. Forever.
She said, just have fun forever. Like Peter Pan. Hey, Cyndi Lauper did a song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Listen to the music that these women make. Listen to Nicki Minaj and what she sings about or raps about. Listen to Rihanna. Listen to Beyonce. Listen to this new person, Megan Thee Stallion. They tell you everything that you need to know about the woman. That's if you're a serious-minded cat. Now, if you're a low-level dude, then you fit in perfectly with them. You don't have to consider what they're talking about because your job is just to be a drone. Worship them, get them pregnant, and, help them fulfill their love of chaos and become a baby daddy. But if you're a person of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, pay very close attention to what they say and how they project themselves.
That's my idea of heaven.
She said that's her idea of heaven, is to just have fun. Hey brothers, don't you know that, and this might be controversial, this right here is the kingdom for the woman. This is their kingdom. That's why I speak about the veneration and the worship of the mother goddess. Because here is where they're allowed to fulfill all of their dreams, their lusts, as opposed to doing their role, which is to make the man happy. She's trying to bring this character of Wyatt Earp into her web so that she can convince him that his role is to make her happy. That's why she's speaking about her happiness and her boredom. That's how she lures men in. And that's how the Tatiana works. Please understand this.
Please don't share it with them.
You mean Behan? Well then, Why are you with him?
Because he's a seat filler until she finds the next dude, the next chump. And she has her eyes firmly planted on you.
Because he's handsome. He's charming. He's all right. For now. Oh, I know. Don't say it. I'm rotten.
No, you're just you. You're just being you. That's okay.
Tried to be good. It's just so boring.
Hey, brothers, you hear that? She says she tried to be good. It's just so boring. I've stated this in previous videos. The wife material woman does not even concern herself with concepts like boredom. That's how you know that they come so few and far between. Because jealousy and boredom are the two main galvanizers of the woman in general. So when we understand that, then we know how rare it is to encounter a woman that is actually wife material. You have a huge portion of women who try to convince themselves that they're wife material women when they're just concubines. A good concubine is better than a delusional wife because it stops you from wasting your damn time. You understand that? But once again, the onus is on you as a man to figure this out. It's not on them to change or become better people. They're not changeable. They are who they are. That's it. But as she stated, she tried to be good, but it's boring. Girls just want to have fun. Liberal girls, let me specify. And that's okay.
You talk.
Never heard women talk like that?
Never.
I don't have time to be proper.
Because you're a hoe. It's okay.
I want to live. I'm a woman. I like men.
$2 hoe.
If that means I'm not ladylike, then I guess I'm just not a lady.
Good for you. See, I like this type of Tatiana. She keeping it real with Wyatt Earp. He's open right now. He ready to give her the whole thing. The saloon, his 10-gallon hat. He ready to give her everything.
At least I'm honest.
You're different. No arguing that. It's your...
But he love hoes. As I already stated, his current living woman is a hoe, Maddie Blaylock, and a drug addict. So he just going from hoe to hoe. This dude's like that.
All right. I'll take my oath on it.
Okay, so now, brothers, we've jumped ahead in this film to another scene that I think is pivotal in conveying the overall sentiment of this video, that being that the Tatiana / the liberal woman just wants to have fun. Here we're seeing the character of Doc Holliday, played by Val Kilmer. In my view, one of the great performances of the last 30 years. It's unbelievable to me that he was not even nominated for an Oscar for this role. He played the character of Doc Holliday, the renowned gunman of the Old West who also suffered from tuberculosis. In this scene, he's in the midst of being diagnosed by this doctor who's basically going to tell him that he has anywhere from 2 days to as much as 2 years to live because he's lost a vast amount of his lung tissue because he has tuberculosis. This person here, the female on the left, is his lady. She enjoys all the drinking, the smoking, the gambling, and the carousing that she does with Doc Holliday. She's going to overhear the diagnosis and the prognosis that the doctor gives Doc Holliday, and she's going to enter the room as the doctor's leaving and proceed to try to seduce Doc Holliday into doing exactly what the doctor told him he should not do if he wants to attempt to elongate his life. And that's something that the Tatiana will always do. They will always try to seduce you into being a lesser version of yourself, as opposed to being a better version of yourself, because they're driven by that incessant need to quote unquote be happy, i.e. have fun. The wife is always going to try to make you a better version of yourself. So let's see what happens here.
Your condition's quite advanced. I'd say you lost some 60% of your lung tissue, maybe more. So far, 2 years, 2 days, hard to say. If you stop now. You're smoking, you're drinking, you're gambling, your nightlife. You need complete rest.
Hey brothers, like I've stated, the Tatiana's fun. They have you out having a great old time. And sometimes the wife material woman is very fun as well. I don't want to make it like you can't have a fun wife. There are a lot of females out there who are wife material who know how to help you have a great time, take you out to a nice restaurant you've never been to before, or a bar, or what have you, have drinks or whatever. But the Tatiana, that's all she's about, is a good time. That's all she's about. And if she could not have a quote unquote happy time with you, she's gonna move on and do it with somebody else, and that's okay. Once again, your job is to understand who it is that you're dealing with, and number one, know who you are as a person. That's how we avoid a lot of the dumb shit, the baby mama drama, so on and so forth, to the best of our abilities. None of us are perfect. All we do is the best we can.
What I mean is, you must attempt to deny your marital income.
Get out of my sight.
The doctor basically told Doc Holliday, you have to stop having sex with your woman. Doc Holliday said, get out of my sight.
How are you feeling, Doc?
I'm better.
That's good. I knew it wasn't nothing.
She just overheard the doctor stating that he's lost 60% of his lung tissue. And now she walks in and says, I knew it was nothing.
We must talk, darling. It appears we must redefine the nature of our association.
I'm a good woman to you, Doc.
No, you're not. But that's something that, once again, the Tatiana will try to prove, especially to a dude who has a lesser level of understanding, that she's a good woman, aka a quote-unquote ride-or-die chick. But she cannot deal with monotony. Brothers, once again, if you have a wife-material woman, can she deal with the day-to-day? You know, one of the main reasons why a lot of so-called long-term relationships don't work is because the woman just has too much free time on her hands. Especially since they brought the woman into the workplace. She has so much dead time. You ever notice that? Seems like these bros always got so much goddamn time on their hands. Back in the day when the woman was in the home, she was too busy moderating the home. She didn't have time to worry about being a Tatiana. She had to make sure that everything was taken care of. That was part of her wife training. That's what I mean when I say that a lot of the things that we see from the woman is not necessarily her fault. She's just been granted too many liberties for her own good.
Don't I always take care of you?
Hell no.
Nobody cares for you like me. I'm a good woman.
She says she's a good woman. She just heard the doctor state that he's not going to be able to make love anymore, or that he really shouldn't do so until he can heal. And now this bro trying to give him a hand job. Ain't that a bitch?
Yes, it's true. You are a good woman.
No, she's not. She just got some good coochie. Now I got Doc smoking that ooey.
Then again, you may be the Antichrist.
Hey, brothers, you heard that? He said, yes, you are a good woman. Then again, you may be the Antichrist. That's the Tatiana for you in a nutshell. She had you feeling so good that she convinces you that she's a good woman, but in reality, she's a Luciferian. That's what she is. That's what the term Antichrist basically means. That's why I tell you, brothers, liberal woman equals Luciferian woman. Liberal ideologies equal Luciferian ideologies. I'm not talking about politically. I'm talking about societally. Please keep that in mind. So that's basically it on that. Brothers, please remember to walk circumspectly to the best of your ability. Once again, none of us are perfect. We can look at the liberal woman all day, but the first thing that we all have to do is make sure that we're on point within ourselves to the best of our ability. But anyway, peace.